Hey y'all, happy Tuesday. So, we're going to give people just a few minutes to come into the room because I am running a few minutes behind. And so, it's probably going to take just a few minutes here for the notifications to go out saying that I've gone live. So, all right, I think my computer got a little late. All right, so while we're waiting for people to come in the room, I'm just going to go ahead and thank my patrons. Thank you so much for supporting my content. A special thank you to my VIP patrons, Ray, and Daniel. Thank you so much. So, hey y'all, hey Darrell, hey Staylace, hey MC. Hey, Bruce, the boss resurrected. I see you change your name. Hey, Black Introvert. So people are slowly coming into the room. Thank you, Darrell. Um, and don't forget, I also have a merch available in my link below if you would like to support, okay? So really, honestly, y'all, we're going to jump right into this because for those of you that follow me on Instagram, I've already kind of mentioned this and we started talking about it a little bit yesterday. If you're not following me on Instagram, you should be. Rhonda_Mary. I also have my backup page at RhondaMary Vids, okay? So, if you're not following me on Instagram or if you may have missed a post, you may not know that on yesterday, okay, President Joe Biden met with something just happened to my computer, y'all. Hold on. I got stuff popping up. Some stuff I was working on. All right, so President Joe Biden, okay, met with law enforcement, met with local law enforcement, met with some of the most known or leading law enforcement across the country. He's been kind of talking about this over the last few weeks, but yesterday he particularly does a conference saying that y'all, COVID funds, all the leftover COVID funds are about to go to policing. We're looking at federal, basically increasing the budget for police. Like, that's basically what it comes down to it. I'm going to show you guys some things tonight. We're going to talk about some different things as it relates to this topic, because the number one main concern for me, okay, the absolute number one main concern in all of this is that I nearly like 99 point, about as strong as your survival rates from COVID, okay, guarantee you that your favorite blue check, your favorite politician, your favorite entertainer, your favorite athlete, your favorite hip hop artist, and all of the people that bust us over the head last year with defund the police have not even mentioned it. Not even mentioned it. Not even a little bit. Not even alluded to this. Has not let y'all know that this is even going on. Now, for me and a lot of people in the chat, obviously for us, it's a problem, okay? Not only is it completely hypocritical, that's number one, okay? Number two, is not in alignment with every single thing we were like I'm talking about inundated with last year. That's number two. And number three, oh, yo, we gonna hold their feet to the fire. People ain't said a word. Have not said a word, a tweet, nothing, okay? Angela Rye, Mark Lamont Hill, Van Lathan, Van Jones, Breakfast Club, The Shade Room, Hip Hop Uncensored, Unlocked, Nobody at the Crying Negro Network, Don Lemon, LeBron James, Whoopi Goldberg, Killer Mike, T.I., all y'all faves. They so down for the people. I'm talking about having uttered a word, a sentence about this. And for last year to be so polarizing, for people like myself who told people this was coming, and to be in some attempts slander for being absolutely honest with people. I have to question at this point a lot of people's uh morality, standards, foundation, position, mental capacity. But these are the people, like, if I say entertainers are not leaders, Tamika Mallory, thank you. If I say entertainers are not leaders, you will have people that come from me. Like, these people are like their brother and their sister, their cousin. And when I constantly try to remind people that most time you want to know where somebody lies on an issue, see who their sponsor is, see who's sponsoring them, see who their donor is. And that's going to tell you a lot about what you need to know. So let's start with, because we're going to take a look here. We're going to take a look at this. Lori Lightfoot. Chicago Police Superintendent David Brown promises action on gun violence after Biden meeting. Chicago shootings, strike force enacted to cut down on illegal gun trafficking, Biden says. Okay, anybody that knows anything about the 1994 crime bill, you're going to see a lot of this repetitive wording. And I'm actually going to show you this tonight, because once people start talking about it, they're going to try to make it different. It's not different. This is not different. It's actually almost uncanny and disrespectful how similar it is. It's nauseating that nobody's talking about this. Nobody's mentioning it, at the very least, to call out the hypocrisy. Chicago Police Superintendent David Brown is promising action on gun violence after meeting with President Joe Biden, hosted law enforcement leaders from across the country to address rising crime Monday, and Brown was in attendance. The Chicago Police Department, I'm sorry, I got to read this part. The meeting came after 40 people were shot, 11 fatally, in shootings this past weekend. The Chicago Police Department is counting on significant help from the federal government in the fight against violence. So all the hoop and hollering, okay, against your local police, and sometimes, yes, absolutely justified, but you got to have a means to the ends and even understand the stuff that you are actually supporting and getting behind, because some of this stuff is being used against you to your detriment and you don't even realize it. But we're going to talk about it tonight, okay? So, Lori Lightfoot and the Chicago Police Department is going to work with the feds to bring in federal police, okay? That is what's going to happen. Federal militarized police. Brown said President Biden promised to include a law enforcement strike force. Strike force, right? Strike force. I'm pretty sure you can pick up on context clues to work with Chicago police and increase efforts to intercept the flow of illegal guns, along with money for violence, interruption groups, and street outreach workers. And street outreach workers. But the superintendent waits for the feds to formalize their plan to help the city. He is continuing to cast a spotlight on one of his biggest frustrations of violent offenders getting let out on bail and electronic monitoring. Okay, so if y'all remember, you may or may not even remember, because we go from one agenda to the next like a freaking roller coaster, and it's just whatever's trending today is what's trending, and what's not tomorrow is not. Okay, if you remember, this was probably in the last year or two. You had people who were railing against cash bail, didn't want cash bail. And I believe, to my understanding, if I remember correctly, you actually have some cities across the country, a few, that have picked up on that model, or at least for the more petty crimes. So this is something that people have been trying to push, okay? A Chicago rapper was gunned down outside the county jail as he was released on electronic monitoring Sunday night. The superintendent said Laundry Sylvester had 22 arrests on his rap sheet, including a prior gun charge for which he was released on electronic monitoring and then rearrested for violating the terms of his release. It is incredible that he was eligible for electronic monitoring. It's madness. It's making all of us less safe, said Brown. Brown said the promised federal help will also include beefing up the ATF's work to trace guns used in crime and more. The strike force will focus on the flow of guns, which includes buyers and sellers of illegal guns. So the messed up part about this, and where some of this is going to get tricky and start intertwining, is they're going to use, knowing criminals don't, if you got 22 arrests on your rap sheet, at this point, like, you don't care. Like, let's just call it what it is, okay? You don't care. You going in and out of the prison system has not influenced you, encouraged you. It's no light bulb that has gone off that has said up until this point, you know what, maybe I'll stop with this crime thing. So even this idea that criminals are going to follow gun laws is absolutely ridiculous, absolutely absurd when you think about it from a logical standpoint. The feds have not been able to get drugs off the streets to this day, but now they're telling you they're going to magically be able to get guns off the streets. Okay, from illegal criminals. So gun owners, beware, because what you're gonna see going forward, they're gonna try to use this to exacerbate gun grabbing. Okay, that's just what it is. So this is according to ABC Chicago. So let me see. I didn't know I had the rail coming up there. That's according to ABC Chicago. So you have the Chicago police department who's on board to go ahead and get the feds in. Lori Lightfoot is basically pleading at this point to get the feds in. Apparently last year, when the same thing was suggested, it was called racist, over militarization, and all of this, right? Over policing. It's a stain on the criminal justice system, and all these other things run by the KKK and the Nazis and the white supremacists. But when it's your boy Joe Biden, you got the freaking black gatekeepers, the Boule, your favorite entertainers, your favorite celebrities, quiet as a church mouse. Quiet as a freaking church mouse. So here's Joe Biden the other day, okay, doing this conference, or this press conference, And so first he comes in talking about Cuba. And y'all notice Cuba and Haiti, like when this news broke yesterday, Cuba and Haiti flooded everything. And like, okay, cool. I guess Cuba and Haiti could flood the media for a day. I mean, who am I to say that they don't deserve the 7 o'clock hour, right? But if we're literally sitting here comparing this to the amount of all of the defund the police, abolish the police, criminal justice reform, every single thing that we heard last year, this is not on par. It doesn't match. It doesn't add up. All of the we're going to hold his feet to the fire. Van Jones over there on Crying Negro Network. What he say? Today in America, my son can walk in the streets, or I don't have to worry about him. Now you got to worry about the feds pulling up. The level of hypocrisy is embarrassing. And as I constantly try to show people, these people are not your friends. They cannot be trusted. They do not know you. They do not care about you. They possibly, most likely, don't even give a crap about your cause. However, you have a lot of these people that are going to continue to talk about what they're allowed to talk about and not talk about what they're not allowed to talk about. Okay. That's just what it is. Most of these people are going to speak and fall on a side that butters their bread. And why, when I tell people that, why that is found to be offensive when time and time of freaking again, it is completely obvious. So here's Joe Biden uh yesterday, right? So first of all, we're gonna skip this part, but you see how he even jump into it on the whole like Cuba thing and allegedly supporting the protesters and their freedom. How interesting. Like, how interesting. So anyway, we're gonna skip ahead a little bit where he talks about this, and let me make it bigger. Most of his career, he's telling, like, most of my career, I've been writing crime bills. This is what I do. I lock y'all up. I have still to this day not apologized. I make it known. I'm proud of it. Either you're going to actually listen to the words that have meaning, words have meaning coming out of these people's mouths, and how we will still have people try to pretend like it's something different is absolutely 100% mind blowing to me. Did he say funding or defunding? What word y'all hear? We are going to support local law enforcement. We are going to fund. This is another thing they do, and y'all know this is something that I've railed against like years now. These omnibus bills where they just throw everything in there, everything into a pot. This is a big reason why I support a single item bills, because first of all, what like at at what point is it enough like actual laws on the books? At what point are you not just making up stuff? At what point is this not a money laundering scheme? As I'm gonna show y'all, the previous crime bill from 1994 putting out like billions of dollars and barely have any statistical reduction in crime to even show, to even account for that level of money. These people will throw this stuff. It was so much stuff thrown into the COVID bill. They will have hundreds and hundreds of pages of who knows what are in these things. And people got the nerve to be mad because people don't want to pay more taxes. Where's our money going? This statistic that he said about their community policing efforts reducing crime by 60%. I have not been able to fact check that against anything. So if y'all are able to find that information, please let me know and send it to me. So he goes on and on to talk about this, right? So some things y'all gonna notice. One of the main things that steps out to me is this term community policing. Now, if you looked at the 1994 Crime Prevention Act crime bill, you would know that there was a segment in there that included a program called COPS. Um, Cops of I don't crime something. I don't know what it stands for. We'll see in a minute. Something about community policing or something like that. Um you have to really listen to these people, because I'm about to show you the entire time they're saying community policing, they're basically going to hash a program that was created along with the crime bill in 1994 and do the exact same thing they already did. And then, as you're going to notice, he's saying stuff like jobs, summer programs, all these other things, mental health, just a lot of like elusive, just very elusive, not very direct terms. Now, you're going to have some people who let's say you don't really maybe watch the news that much. Let's say you don't really necessarily pay attention a lot to the politicians. You just pick up on what you can, but you don't really care. Okay, you're going to hear, and my like supporters, y'all know we talk about this all the time, buzzwords, words they use to make you have a certain emotional attachments and things like this, right? So a normie, I guess I could put it like that, right? A normie would probably be like, oh, community policing, summer jobs, mental health programs. Like, That's great. That's what we've been asking for. That's what we protested for. But like, follow me for a second. Think about this for a second. If this was actually what millions of people across the world protested about last year, riots in major cities all over the country, people crying on TV, people twerking on police cars, people going to prison, or dealing with protesting with everything that was going on last year. As much hashtagging and Twitter fingering and slacktivism that was going on, do you not really think if this was the same exact thing that people were talking to last year, don't you know that every hip hop artist, every athlete, every commentator will be standing behind this man, will be tweeting about how great he is, will be like, oh, this is so amazing. We knew Joe Biden would be by our side. We knew he would do criminal justice reform. They wouldn't stop talking about it. We wouldn't be able to get away from it. These flunkies that are paid to have these positions and tweet certain things, based on their connections and things like that, would love to be like, yeah, that's why I told y'all to vote Biden last year. We turning up. Criminal justice reform. We did it. Build back better. You have to ask yourself why none of these people have even mentioned it. Because these people are liars. They're liars, okay? They're using emotional buzzwords that they know you're going to relate to. They think they're going to hide this in a segment behind Cuba, right? We're just talking about how we support the Cubans and the Cuban freedoms. And I'm just going to throw this in here, but I'm going to throw a couple buzzwords. I'm going to make it real short. And they won't even know what we're doing behind the scenes because the shade room ain't told them. So, community policing, where is it at? Hold on, I had it pulled up. And it tells you exactly they trying to throw me off, y'all. They trying to throw me off. It's all right. We're going to keep going. So here we go. This is a breakdown of the cops. So when they say community policing, they're not even talking about what you think they're talking about. They're using that specific term for a reason because they know what you're going to associate, the ideas that you're going to associate with community policing. The entire time they're talking about a very specific, detailed plan, something totally different. Okay? Something totally different than what you may suspect. So let's take a look at this. So this is the actual, this was part of the plan, or it talks about part of the summary from 1994. The community oriented policing services. So when you hear them say COPS program or community policing, this is the actual program that they're talking about. Was created by Title I of the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994. So that's the crime bill. The mission of the COPS program is to advance the community in policing all jurisdictions across the United States. Okay. The Violence Against Women and Department of Justice Reauthorization Act of 2005. So if y'all remember a little bit, the Violence Against Women Act that was also a part of the 1994 bill, you will often hear um, um, Bernie, Lord, I can't even think his name. Bernie Sanders. You will often hear Bernie Sanders say, "Oh, well, I had to support the bill because of the Violence Against Women Act that was put it in there, put in there." This is another reason why I support single item bills. Okay. Now look at this, y'all. Look at this. Okay, between fiscal year 1995 and 1996, the annual appropriation for the COPS program averaged more than $1.4 billion. $1.4 billion. The relatively high level of funding during this time period were largely the result of Congress and the Clinton's administration's effort to place 100,000 new law enforcement officers on the street. So in that video that I was just showing you guys, Biden was talking about how they're about to add more police officers, they're about to pay them more, and they're about to pay them for overtime. Appropriations for the program started to wane in fiscal year 2002 before increasing again for the 4-year period between fiscal year 2007 2010. Congress started to reduce funding for the COPS program as it moved away from providing funding for hiring new law enforcement officers and changed COPS into a conduit for providing federal assistance to support. Something just happened to my computer, y'all. Sorry. Where was I at? To support local law enforcement agencies. Okay. So this goes on to talk about COPS was dedicated to programs to help law enforcement agencies purchase new equipment. So all the militarized equipment, y'all, oh, we don't need militarized police. Combat meth production. So for all y'all anti-drug war people, upgrade criminal records, and improve forensic science. Okay. So over some of these years, you would have this program kind of fluctuating. Some years they're like, oh, we want to support it more. Some years like they're like, oh, we want to support it less, because where the heck is this money actually going? Now, I believe it's either in this. I have several PDFs pulled up here that talks about the COPS program, and it's either in this PDF or the other one I previously had pulled up that talked about with $1.4 billion on average a fiscal year, crime decreased about 1.4 to 2%. Now, you know, I'm not really a mathematician. I am not a studied in crime report statistics and FBI crime data. However, from just a normie when it comes to looking at stuff like this, as I'm looking at 1.4 billion on average per fiscal year. So this means sometimes it was even more, for a reduction in some cities for about at the most 1.4 to 2%. I mean, community policing embraces a number of core elements. The philosophy must be adopted throughout the organization. Decision making and accountability are decentralized. There's geographic accountability. Existing laws are enforced. Policing is proactive and oriented toward crime prevention. A problem solving approach is emphasized. This is a report about how the COPS program has worked and particularly been instilled in these communities. And I've told you, be very careful when anytime you're dealing with these politicians. Even we saw Black Lives Matter do a lot of this recently, like last year, where you would go to their website and we're like, Black Lives Matter, what do you want? What are your actual demands? And you go to the website and it's like very generic, very elusive slogans, word salad, not very specific. Oh, well, we want geographic accountability. Like, what? We want problem solving to be approached and emphasized. Huh? It's a very specific reason they do this, because the devil is in the details, and they know that the average person, if it's not trending, if people are not hashtagging, people generally don't care. People generally don't care. I call this a generation of no standards, no standard, no foundation, no logic, just vibes. Just vibes. Just going with the flow. Whatever the media is talking about today, that's what we care about. Whatever mainstream is supporting, we with it. Doesn't matter how immoral, doesn't matter the lack of standards, doesn't matter how hypocritical. Hashtag it enough, tweet it enough, have enough blue checks come out and talk about it. And I'm gonna show you their new play that's coming up. Some of y'all probably haven't even noticed it yet, but you're gonna see it more. But so when you hear these people saying, well, I shouldn't say these people, I'm gonna say Joe Biden and his administration specifically. Because maybe, and this is me giving them room and the benefit of the doubt. Oh, I ain't even talk about your what they call them people? The three amigos, AOC, Cory Bush, uh, uh, um, Rashida. None of these people, your freedom, justice, Democrats, none of these people have mentioned, oh, we can push Joe Biden to the left. He's the most progressive, the squad. He's the most progressive president in American history. Most voted for president. And I go look at this ratio. I mean, but I guess that that don't mean nothing. What I can see with my own eyes, that you know, uh, the squad hasn't said nothing about this. Nothing. You make heroes out of these people. All right, this is according to the BrennanCenter.org, because I just kind of want you to remember some of the things about the 1994 crime bill and why people were talking about it so heavily last year. And this is actually from an article from 2016. A political compromise, a crime bill contributed to both the crime decline and mass incarceration, but not in a way that people may think. Okay. when Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders take the stage Thursday night in Brooklyn, blah, blah, blah. This was them talking about the debate. Okay, so since then, much has been said about the legislation effect on crime and mass incarceration. So this is how long we've been spinning wheels, or longer. This was back in 2016. We had the repetitive issue in what year? 2020. Exactly 4 years. Like, is it adding up to people yet? These issues are cyclical. They have us at this point on a timer, on a merry-go-round for when they do and do not want us to mention these things, when they are not pushed up and propped up in the algorithm. Exactly 4 years. You can't even make this stuff up. Much has been said about the legislation's effect on crime and mass incarceration. Some argue the measure, officially called the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994, led to a drop in crime. Others vehemently contend it did not. Questions abound about its impact on mass incarceration. So, first, the good. Okay, this is according to Brennan Center. Though the crime bill was not responsible for the entire drop in crime, it likely helped, not by locking people up, but by putting more cops on the streets. What does that sound like? It sounds exactly like the COPS program I just was talking about. And the COPS program is going to be revitalized and added to Joe Biden's American Rescue Plan, and that's what they'll do. They'll hide like BS behind like the Patriot Act, right? And whole time it's not patriotic at all. It provided funding for 100,000 new police officers and $14 billion in grants for community-oriented policing. So this was already included in your 1994 crime bill. They're about to recycle this, rehash it, and make you think this is what you asked for all along. From 1990 to 1999, the number of police officers rose 28%, from 699,000 to 899,000, partly funded by the crime bill. Research also indicates smarter policing tactics like the ones funded by the bill, and social and economic factors like an aging population, decreased alcohol consumption, so forth and so on. Okay? It even talks about crime had already started declining. And even if you go look at actual crime stats of like right now today, even after COVID, yes, crime has absolutely risen since basically like this time last year. But if you compare records from today to like 5 years ago or 8 years ago, crime has still decreased. Okay, so keep that in mind. They're not going to tell you that though on your nightly news. Okay. From 1970 to 1994, the rate of imprisonment exploded by 400% to 387 per 100,000 people. From 1994 to 2009, imprisonment continued to rise, doubling. The crime bill contributed to this increase in incarceration. Now, look at this. They're talking about the 1994 crime bill, but as we're talking about this, right? One of the main things you heard Joe Biden introduce it, he couldn't come in and say to stop drugs. It was going to be too obvious, and it's way, way, way too unpopular now. So their next best things is to say guns. Okay, hot button topic. Oh, we can do it without kind of like really offending the Black Lives Matter people, especially the really Antifa, come across the bridge into a neighborhood that's not yours, burn down Target, and cool with that, but really not cool with the crime when it comes to your neighborhood. We can say these things and kind of get away with what we've been doing because we know they really won't somewhere in the middle. They're okay with the crime when you keep it over there, when you keep it in Chicago, when it's your Target, okay, your Wendy's, your children, but don't bring that into our neighborhoods. And we're going to talk about that too, because only reason Joe Biden is even doing this now is because they're in the polls starting to dwindle. Okay, when you start dealing with some of these white liberals they was all down with you, twerking in front of the police cars over there in your neighborhood, but now it's crime, violence, petty theft, and all these other things are increasing. Now the poll numbers are dwindling. Okay, so whatever is waving, whatever popping, whatever people are cool with at the time, or when they can use you for their agenda, they're totally cool with it. But that's not translating to the polls. The crime bill contributed to this increase in incarceration. First, it banned 19 types of semi-automatic assault weapons, authorized the death penalty for dozens of existing and new federal crimes. Why do we need new federal crimes? Assault is a crime. Murder is a crime. Theft is a crime. What new federal crimes? What new federal laws do we need on the books? And how exactly, when you have in Chicago, like the story I just read to you, okay, this young guy in Chicago with 22 arrests on his rap sheet, and they say, oh, well, we'll let you out, no bail, or with a light bill, I can't quite remember. What new federal law and instituted a federal 3 strikes and you're out provision? So this is what I want y'all to pay attention to. Same exact thing. This is from 1994. Now, Joe Biden is introducing the same exact thing. It's not even a little bit different. It's not even a little bit different. They didn't even try hard. Jupiter said, Rhonda, this was all planned. Last year they were party of allowing the destruction. And now the hidden agenda being pushed. It's a Second Amendment grab. Well, he hit it right on the head. Hit it right on the head. So not only did they help these politicians, especially the ones with the lockdowns, especially you have some of these people that were bailing out some of these Antifa and Black Lives Matter people that were coming, being destructive and doing all these other things, allegedly. They helped exacerbate this just to turn around. They created the problem just to turn around and give you the solution and act like they're doing you a favor. This entire thing was a play, like from the very beginning. Even the fact of Joe Biden snuggling up to and skirting on the momentum of the Bernie Sanders voters, of the AOC voters, of the Cori Bush voters, snuggled up to them, acted like he was cool with them, used the momentum of the defund the police. He used the momentum just to turn around and do the exact opposite. Just to turn around and do the exact opposite. And then you had Trump supporters and Trump talking about, Biden is the anti-cop, anti-police, anti-law enforcement candidate, and that was his spiel to build his momentum. And the whole time, y'all knowing it ain't true. Even in that moment when people were trying to act like it was the truth, I was saying it was not the truth. There is absolutely no way, based on not only Joe Biden's and Kamala's actual history, political history, but also it is no way, there's no such thing as an anti-police politician. Like, you know, I'm just gonna make it plain. I'm just going to say it as plainly as possible. There is absolutely no such thing as a anti-police politician. When you have Joe Biden, when you have any liberal, you have a crime bill, anybody that's talking about adding more federal crimes, anybody that's talking about adding more crimes cannot be anti-police, because in fact, they need the police and they need law enforcement to impose their will on you. So it's not even logical. Who the heck is going to listen to Joe Biden? Who is going to listen to AOC? Who is going to listen to Trump? Who is going to listen to any of these people if it's something they want to do and it's no one there to enforce it? So all of that was just campaign stuff, and everybody high on emotions. Everything is happening. Everything's moving. Twitter popping. The algorithms popping. So everybody just falling into whatever narrative they want at the time. So I don't care what your cause is. This is something you need to remember. I don't give a crap if you're a climate change activist. I don't give a crap if you're a animal rights activist. Every single time, regardless of how progressive you think it is, every single time you advocate for any of these things that you are against to become criminal, if you say, I want people to pay this climate change tax, I want them to pay this extra tax on fuel because I am a climate activist, and I think they should have to, as a federal law, you are saying, I want my will imposed on people up into the point of law enforcement. That's just what it is. That's just, I really don't know any other way to put it. I don't know how to explain it better. I do not know how to make it more plain. This is why I tell people, like stop supporting stuff that you don't actually support, or you're not actually like like, you know. And I even talked about, and Joe Biden's administration is now parroting this. And I believe I had it pulled up. Okay, we're gonna look at this. But the only reason, or the main reason why they are now doing this, is because of 2022. That was all cool, that little stuff y'all was talking. It was all cool when it was, time to beat Trump, but now it's, don't say nothing. Don't defund the what? What you say? Don't say that. Don't tweet that. Do what? When we said that? You sure that was us? Our slogan was just, we're not that guy. Y'all really think Joe Biden about to let some Negroes stop him from winning 2020, like 2022? Like, let's just keep it real. Like, let's just keep it real. Is that what we really think? Like, actually, like, for real? Y'all believe anything they hashtag said, rolled the wave of, all that's not gonna go to the side? to win 2022? Bruce said maybe when LeBron James get past the cover page of Malcolm X, he'll get to the part where Malcolm X calls him a political chump. We're back in the DNC. Why you gotta do my boy LeBron like that now? Come on now. You know the man at least halfway through the book now. Stop playing. Thank you, Bruce. Y'all really believe anything they let y'all talk about last year? Man. Oh, okay. President Biden balances fighting rising crime and reforming police. Facing rising fears of summer violence, President Joe Biden is embarking on a political high wire act, trying to balance his strong backing for law enforcement with police reform movement championed by many of his supporters. Not him. So now I got to figure out how to trick these folks. His focus Monday was on crime. Biden met at the White House with urban leaders. This goes on to talk about this, how, surging crime, how to combat this, that, and the other. Now, let's get to let's get to the real part. The meeting was the second. It's not even letting me highlight it. They don't want y'all to know. The meeting was the second in just 3 weeks, underscoring the political concern crime has become. The political concern. He didn't say he worried about your kids. He didn't say he worried about your home, your property, your family, your property value. He's worried about political concern for Democrats as they look to protect their thin margins in Congress. Big city mayors and lawmakers have sounded the alarm on the rise in crime, believed partly fueled by destabilizing forces of the pandemic, and polls suggest it is an increasing matter of concern for many Americans. White House aides believe that Biden, with his long legislative record on crime as a former senator, is not easy to paint as soft on the issue. And the president has been clear that he is opposed to defund the police movement, which has been effectively used against some Democrats to paint them as anti-law enforcement. The president promoted the money for policing in his COVID-19 relief bill, and reflecting on his nearly 4 decades in the Senate, declared, most of my career has been on this issue. They don't even hide it. He brag about it. This is what I do. I'm going to get him back in check. I let him do a little, thug thizzle last year, but we gonna, y'all know where I stand. You know where I stand on paper. You know where I stand on legislation. I might have not answered the questions at the debate directly about whether I was team defund the police, but you know what's on paper. You know what my ink on. This is why I constantly say, man, what's on paper? Folks love emotions. They love hashtags. They love a beautiful, flowery, word salad speeches. But when it comes to paper, it gets real. At the same time, Biden has also tried to boost progressive efforts to reforming police and has backed a bill that, after initial promise, has stalled in the Senate. Biden lent his support to the protests that swept the nation last year after the death of George Floyd, a black man under the knee of a white police officer. That incident sparked national reckoning, blah, 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 violent protests, anger among Trump supporters. Crime has been a major Republican talking point, and that's where Biden's balancing act comes in. Okay, he received overwhelming election support from black voters and picked the first black woman, Kamala, let me call her by her actual name, Kamala Harris, to be vice president. The president and White House aides are frequently in touch with civil rights leaders to consult on police reform and voting access. While combating crime and reforming the police don't inherently have to be at odds, the two efforts have been increasingly billed that way. So this just goes on to talk about this. I think it's very interesting that it talks about how, or it alludes to the fact of the George Floyd bill being stalled in the Senate. I want y'all to remember something, because people love to give these politicians excuses. They love to run cover for them. Biden has the capability to call whatever meetings and press conferences that he wants. So if this man wanted to come directly to the press and saying and say, why is the George Floyd bill being stalled, and call out the people that are stalling it, if he actually cared and he actually wanted to do this is something he could actually do, including whether it's going in on Republicans, whether it's going on people in his party. So it's a lie. It's a lie, okay? If y'all will remember, Trump was actually notorious for this. Even when it came against people in his own party, if it was something he wanted to talk about, he was going to talk about it. He didn't care if he was, stepping off the Air Force One or whatever else. Okay, Thomas Massey was one of the main people he called out. I can't even remember what bill it was. Call him a grandstander, the biggest grandstander. He was holding up. I think it was was it a COVID bill, if I remember correctly? And we're calling these people out to things that were getting moved. So this is a very passive, oh, it was stalled in the Senate, what can I do? I just want people to overall not be played, not be willingly lied to, not be willingly manipulated so much to the point where you are participating in it. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. It is a result of lack of standards. Okay. Because when you don't actually have a standard, it's like, these are the main issues that I stand for, and I'm going to talk about regardless of what's trending, regardless of who's in support of it, who is or is not talking about it, regardless of if it's viral. Joe Biden, all the hype from last year, this is like a double whammy. This is like a double slap in the face. The two biggest hypes of last year were COVID and the George Floyd protests. And here we are a year later, and Joe Biden is suggesting and promoting the use of COVID funds to go to funding more police. If that's not like, but COVID, so many people are dying. This is the most deadly thing we've ever seen. I mean, this crazy virus that is just plaguing the entire earth and killing your grandma. And we're trying to convince, we haven't even gotten to the 90% vax rate, and we need to go door to door, but still take a little bit of that money and put it over here for policing. Like, does that actually seem logical to people? Like, does this actually seem like like it's not manipulative? It's not manipulative. This is a destructive virus that is plaguing the world. But we're going to take funds from that and promote, support, and maintain the exact thing that we tried to at least a little bit pretend like we wasn't messing with last year. This is actually offensive. I'm offended. I'm offended at how naive they think we are, uh, how ignorant they believe we are. It's actually like when you really start putting the pieces together, it's actually offensive. It's actually offensive. And so here's the new play. And, I'm gonna kind of wind this down, and we're gonna end with this. But here's the new play. So after all last year telling y'all we need to be more woke, we gotta rid, the police, the White House, the Capitol buildings, the federal buildings, every nook and cranny of racism, homophobia, every ism, ist, phobia you can think of. Now, after you spend all the time protesting, they're now going to turn on you, on your base, and say, them Negroes over there, they too woke. They too woke. That's a little too far for us. We still on your team, kid that came across the bridge. We still gonna make sure your side of the bridge is good. So you already have CNN starting to say this. You already have some of the media outlets. Just start paying attention. You're going to see little by little, they're going to say, oh, we were just way too woke last year. That year was a fluke. Defund the what? I just needed a Snickers. I wasn't myself. They played you, then gonna turn around and disrespect you like this. Why wokeness is the biggest threat to Democrats in the 2022 election. As Democrats begin the uphill climb to hold their majorities in the House and Senate next November, politicians and party strategists are admitting that their biggest challenge comes from within. Woke liberals demanding adherence to policies on crime, the environment, and government spending that are simply not shared by the majority of the country. They ain't tell y'all this last year, though. How do Democrats win in places like North Carolina, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Florida, Arizona, and Georgia? Asked former South Carolina Governor Jim Hodges, focusing on how lives have improved since January of 2021. COVID rates are down and jobs are up. So remember when I told y'all that they were going to slowly kind of start moving Black Lives Matter more and more out of the picture? Do y'all remember the video that I did talking about how Black Lives Matter all of a sudden wanted to move to like talking about more joy and happy? So this is going to be the new strategy. Oh, jobs are up, COVID rates are down. Your life is great, right? Since 2021, your hot dogs were a little cheaper this year. We let you go celebrate freedom, whatever that is, without a mask with your vaccinated friends. You happy, right? People are generally free to visit family and friends without restriction. The circus has left Washington, and Biden has already cleaned up the mess. I'm not sure why Democratic candidates would stray from that message, particularly in purple states. You're not that silly. You couldn't stray away from all this we've given you. Heidi's comments are reflective of a broader acknowledgement and concern that talking about things like defunding the police, the Green New Deal, and ending the detention of people coming across the southern border illegally. When's the last time you heard somebody mention the southern border? Are a recipe for political disaster. Now they want to talk about politics and strategy, right? In the 2022 midterm elections. The current concern is perhaps best reflected in this essay. Despite endless hopeful invocations but polls show that people like our positions. The truth is that the Democrat Party has been pulled far enough left, and that even lots of non-crazy people find us just plain scary. Something that Fox News takes vigorous advantage of. From an electoral point of view, the story here is consistent. Democrats have stoked the culture wars by getting more extreme on social issues, and Republicans have used this to successfully cleave away a segment of both the non-college white vote and, most recently, the non-college, non-white vote. Wokeness is a problem, and everybody knows it. It's hard to talk to anybody today. And I talk to lots of people in the Democratic Party who doesn't say this, but they don't want to say it out loud. Boy, these people good. Like this. 70% of Americans oppose the defund the police movement, while just 27% supported it. So who you think they're going to try to vouch for with the upcoming elections, 2022? You think they're going to shoot for that 70% or 27%? Or do you think they'll maybe snuggle up to the 27%, or at the very least have the 27% shut up, because we control the algorithms. We tell you what to not say and to say, what to not support and don't support, and then we'll just cater to the 70%. We'll do it behind closed doors. We'll do it in a short press conference where we squeeze it in after Cuba. We don't really let people know what's going on. And we got 2022 in the bag. So while they tweeting all last year, defund the police, Green New Deal, end the detention of people at the border, the whole time they're on Capitol Hill, and what's quiet as it's kept, they're like, man, these people ain't messing with these ideas. We need to get it together so we can do whatever we need to do for 2022. It's very concerning to me. It's very concerning to me. And it's also honestly hurtful to me that last year so many people got swept away in their emotions. They got swept away in lies. They got swept away in manipulation. They got swept away in half truths. They supported and promoted agendas that they may not even otherwise even promote or support. Had their favorite celebrity not told them to. Had their hero politician not Twitter fingered about it. Somebody said the fun of police didn't age well. I told people this. Pure common sense. When you look at, and this is, one problem with jumping behind a lot of these hashtags, and I talked about this on Instagram recently, jumping on these hashtags, buzzwords, just very packaged, where the media or whoever can just run off with whatever narrative, very isolated talking points. Even the very foundation of the fun, the police, common sense should have told so many people that that was going to be polarizing for most voters. That was just basic common sense. And people ate it right up just for the same person that used y'all emotional energy and emotional capital to ride the wave right into the White House and do the exact opposite. Uh, so please stop letting the politicians um, be hypocritical and lie to you. I believe this plan all along was very obvious to many of us. It was a lot of things that were exacerbated last year to induce and promote the crime numbers that we are now seeing. A lot of your faves helped created the problem, and that now they come in trying to act like they're saving us and giving us a solution, and the whole time they're just going to do exactly what you protested against last year. And nobody's been talking about it. I don't think nobody cares right now, because it's whatever. It's just vibes. We on Haiti and Cuba right now, or whatever's trending today, after they beat us over the head with every single thing, defund the police and criminal justice just last year. So I had to talk about this. I had to break this down. I had to give a reminder. I will pull a receipt in a minute. Oh, don't forget, in a minute. We cannot continue to let these people use us, man. And we make it so easy. We make it so easy. But anyway, y'all, I'm about to get out of here. Hopefully, y'all will be looking upside, the head of some of these, alleged commentators that's down for the people, contributors, that any other time they own it. But when it comes to this, you quiet, you don't even mention it. I need y'all to start looking outside some of these folks' head, real funny, But anyway, y'all. So thank you to everyone that super chatted. Thank you to my patrons. Thank you to my VIP patrons, Ray and Daniel. Thank you to everybody that supports my content. If you would like to purchase merch, the link is below in my description box. And all right, y'all, we will be talking soon. Bye.